I don't know if I knew how. Beyonce.
Oh, yeah,
we're
gonna
so good.
Yeah. So we going live and see if some people want to show up and come on in and see what we have here. Yeah, so we're talking about overcoming insecurities.
Yeah.
So this is some good stuff. All right, so hey, good evening. This is Luana Michelle, here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we are here talking about overcoming insecurities, and so we're just gonna see if we have some people that are gonna come in and join us, and if you're not able to join live for the full session, then that's okay, because you can catch the replay.
Yeah.
You can catch the replay. So we're going to do this thing. And as you know, I am not going to be on here. We are not going to be on here all night, okay?
I hate long videos.
Me, I know, right?
I just want to hear what you guys say.
And get off. That's it, right? Okay.
Why should it be long? I thought y'all weren't going to be long.
No, we're not. We're not going. All right, so we have a few people. We have, hey, Miss Rashina, what's going on? Hey, Michelle. Hey, ladies, how you all doing? As you all know, on Facebook Live, sometimes you can see people's names and sometimes you can't. So if I don't call out your name, that may mean that I may not be able to see your name, or I may not be able to see that you're on here. So go ahead and say something. Say, hey, how you doing? Say, hey, good evening. So I'll know that you are here. This is a huge topic for us tonight, talking about overcoming insecurities. So go ahead. You can share it with other people. Share it with your network, because this is something that I feel that we all deal with as young ladies, as women, men also. We always, there's some insecurities, and everyone has insecurities. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Like, hey, Bridget. Hey, Miss Ruby. How you guys doing? Hey, ladies. Good evening. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for supporting me, and thank you all for supporting Miss Areyell here. So she's going to be my guest tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Sherelle. Okay, so we are going in. We're talking about overcoming insecurities. That's what we're talking about tonight. And as you saw in the title, that's huge. That is a huge topic, because when you think about people and their experiences, people have insecurities. As I said before, we all have them. Some of us have overcome some insecurities. Some of us are still trying to deal with them. So definitely there is no, I want to put that out there right now. We all have issues. We all have things that we're dealing with. So we're not here to judge. We're not here to tell you that you're doing things wrong, but we're just simply here to just offer some tips and some inspiration and some support. Yeah, exactly. And the reason why Areyell is here with me is because, and I guess she's gonna tell you, but there's a reason why. She's
I'm not
here.
Just sitting here.
Right. There's a reason why she's here. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. This is Miss Areyell Scott, speaker, and she is an author. And I'm going to have her tell you a little bit about what she has going on here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'm so glad I'm here. One of the things that Luana said is that we're here not to just point the finger and tell you what you need to do, but the word of the Lord says that we overcome by the words of our testimony.
Absolutely.
So that means that tonight all this is me basically telling my testimony. This is basically me saying this is what I did to overcome the insecurities that have plagued me, and how do I move forward from there.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. So one of the things I also want you to do is, number one, share. If you want to share, go ahead. And if you have questions, for Areyell, if you have questions for myself, that's fine. Go ahead and send me a message in my inbox, or you can actually just simply type it in, and we'll make sure that we get your questions answered. So really, if you have questions, definitely let us know, okay? All right, let's start talking about, okay, what is your story? Your story about insecurities. What's something that, when we talk about your story, what is your story?
my story is very, well, it's a lot like other people's. I think with my story is that God has given me the grace to work through it, and not only that, He's given me a support system to help see me through those issues. And my story started off with a small seed. I choose to believe that every person that has an insecurity, it started from a seed, and usually those seeds start way before you even know it, before the age of like 5 or 7 or even sometimes 10. And why do I say that? It's because when those insecurities come in, you don't ask them to come in. You don't go looking for them. For example, my insecurities were 2 big things. Number one, I had a lot of issues with how I viewed myself, how I looked at myself. Was I pretty enough? Another one was the fact that I never thought I was enough because I dealt a lot with cognitive issues in school as a child. So I always questioned myself. I always wondered, like, do I have what it takes to do something like some of my other classmates? And because of that, I've seen myself for years shrink back from wanting to be the leader that God called me to be. And so that's why I choose to believe, Luana, that a lot of times insecurities are the very thing that kill you. Basically, if I can rearrange that, insecurities are basically the things you make love to, meaning that they're the things that are going to kill you. They're the things that take away from your purpose. They're the things that try to distract you from moving forward. Because if we think about our lives, we really are powerful people. Many of us don't even tap into the true purpose or all the power that we have because we're always dealing with insecurities. Well, I look at Luana and I say, oh my gosh, I can't get in front of people and speak like her. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Because why? Because God wants us to do that. Because He knows that if I can tell another person my story, if I can move past my hurts and my pains, that I won't be scared anymore, which makes me a better person.
Absolutely. And that's huge. So when we talk about, and you're also an educator, so when you talk about the insecurities that come from childhood, a lot of the insecurities do come from those areas of development, because like you said, those are seeds, and when you think about the seeds, they're growing at a time that our brains that are developing. And so that's huge, because also when that seed is sown, it grows as we become adults. And a lot of insecurities, a lot of things that we're dealing with as adults, they started when we were kids. Exactly. I don't know or know very few people, I'm including myself, that had some insecurities that developed as as I became older, like an insecurity because of divorce or an insecurity because of, different relationships. But that is something that is the norm, or very consistent. Is that they start when they're younger, and that's huge.
That's very huge. I know for me, one of the things that we as women, and also men, we love our hair, right? Like you see a dude with a fresh cut, and he has waves in his hair, you like, yes, honey, okay.
And wavy too.
Yes. Or either you see a woman with their hair can be cut really short, but if it's short and it's cut like precise, you like, girl, you look good. Or the one thing that's beautiful now is that as Black women, we're beginning to love and embrace our natural hair, right? And the reason why I brought that up is that was an insecurity for me. Growing up, because I didn't think that my hair was enough, because it didn't have the texture that I felt was good enough, acceptable, or the best, I shrank back of always saying, I have to always make sure that my hair is straight. I have to always make sure I have a relaxer. But going back to insecurities and being the thing that kills you, because of my insecurity and because of the ignorant thoughts that I had that were placed on me without my permission, I grew up thinking that my hair wasn't enough. So what did I do? I began to straighten my hair. And although I always had healthy permed hair, how can you have healthy relaxed hair? But I did, okay?
You can have healthy hair.
I did.
It's okay.
But what I didn't know is that kept me away from knowing the true natural beauty of who I am. So now, I'm natural and I love it. But just think, if I would have continued to shrink back and to continue to make love to that thing that I thought was right, and that thing that I thought was supreme, I never would have came to a place where I chose to love and enjoy my natural hair. Which also means, and someone said this to me, and I agree with them wholeheartedly, that your hair is a reflection of how you feel about yourself. Think about it. When you take care of your hair, when your hair is healthy and you keep it trimmed, whether it's relaxed or you got your perm, okay, you feel good about yourself, and it's a reflection of who you are in the inside. And I'm not saying if some of us walk out the house and our hair is not done that we don't love ourselves,
right?
But I'm just saying that our hair is closely related to who we are. One last point on that, if you even think about the woman movement, there are so many women in the last couple of years that have really embraced the beauty of who they are natural. And if you think about it, in the last, 8 years, Black women have decided to say, hey, you know what? I'm not shrinking back away from who I am and my natural hair. I'm going to choose to love it. And I don't want to make this topic just about women, because I know that there are men, too, that also have insecurities. And they also have things about them that they don't think is good enough or beautiful enough, but they are.
Yeah, and that's what I've talked with different guys, and they do. They have insecurities of just not being able to take care of their families, or insecure about the income, or insecure about so many things. But there is not, and this is what I've heard from different men, there's not an area where they feel like they can come and share their insecurities and to vent and to say, hey, you know what, really, this is how I feel, and be okay with that. There's not an environment for them to do that. So I would just definitely encourage you guys, encourage your men to, if you are called to that area, create that environment for another man, create that environment for your friends to come in and say, man, I'm really dealing with this. And there may be pockets. I'm not saying that there's nothing out there. But there may be pockets where people are, where men are able to go and just kind of vent and just share their insecurities and not be judged or be seen and be viewed as a weak man because you are venting. So if you are that type of man that's called to that, I would definitely encourage you. Just, create that environment for somebody else. So just want to throw that out there. Okay. So still talking about insecurities. And then when we're looking at, when we have those insecurities, how does someone with insecurities, what is their posture? How do they act? How do they operate? What have you seen from your own story or from other people, whatever, from your story? When somebody is very insecure, what is their posture like? How do they operate and what do they do? What are some of their characteristics?
I can speak to that very well. One, from myself and also from other points of view. I know for me, going back to me being in probably high school, I remember going to get my hair done. And on my way to get my hair done, I would have to walk past like 4 different barbers. And in the very back, there was a woman who did my hair, right? And so I would walk past them, and this one particular day, I had just got finished getting my hair done, and I was feeling good about myself, but still I was dealing with insecurities of how I felt. And I walked past them, and I had my head down. So I was like walking, and they were like, hey, bye. No, they said bye, and I was like, bye. Bye. And I'm saying it's fun. It's funny now, but it wasn't funny then.
Right.
Later on, the lady that did my hair, she said to me, she said, hey, I noticed that all the fellas said goodbye to you. And I was like, yeah, why did they do that? And she said, they noticed that you always walk with your head down. Now, being a 16, 17-year-old girl, and someone sensing that about you, that you always have your head down, that's not attractive. It's not cute. So usually a person who hasn't found their voice and found who they are on the inside, and I want to say, because I hadn't been hurt, I shied away from even talking to people or looking at people. Now, on the other hand, people who have been hurt and they have insecurities lash out. So maybe you may be that person that walk with your head held high, but somebody may say something to you and you may be like, what do you mean? Or you have an attitude and you're always quick to jump to conclusions. It's like, dude, I'm just asking you a simple question. Calm down. But so it comes in both ways. You have to be able to look at yourself and say, why is it that I act the way that I do? And I think for me, once I realized that, I was like, this is not cool. I can even remember being in high school and this girl said, you wear your emotions, or not your emotions, I forgot how she put it, but she said, whatever I wear it on my sleeve, meaning that I have this low self-esteem and it looks bad on me. And I was just like, this really does suck. Like, it doesn't feel good to know that as I walk around, people can see that. And so even going back to what Lawana said, if you're a man out there and you want to create that space, do that. Because of not only do we overcome by the words of our testimony, I once heard someone say, if you want to kill the enemy, use the very thing that he used to kill you to kill him.
That's good.
Meaning that I dealt with insecurity, so what I decided to do is I made a foundation called 7 Pearls. And this foundation helps girls between the ages of 6 and 12 develop the self-esteem and the self-awareness to love themselves from the inside out. So I use the very thing that the enemy tried to take me out in to use it with young girls. And once I began to see that, wow, this is working, that I'm speaking life into these girls and they see themselves as being better people, I think I've done my part. Not only have I done my part, I've instilled something in them that could last forever.
Yeah, and I think too, that's part of your purpose. So for those of you who actually know me, you know I'm always talking about purpose, and my purpose is enlighten, encourage, and empower others to live to their fullest potential. But a lot of times your purpose comes out of those things that you have dealt with personally. And so those are the things, if you're dealing with insecurities of feeling, you know what, I'm just not enough, or because of I've gone through a divorce, or I've gone through, sexual abuse, or I've gone through physical abuse, and now I feel like I'm just this person, I have these insecurities. A lot of times your purpose comes out of that. Your purpose comes out of those things that you have overcome or that you are overcoming, and that you should basically be helping somebody else kind of walk through. And so if you're trying to figure out what your purpose is, look at those things that you've dealt with. Look at those things that you've overcome. Look at those different issues and situations that you have said, you know what, I may be able to help somebody walk through this. And does that mean that you're perfect? Absolutely not. Do you have to wait until you're perfect to walk somebody else through something? Absolutely not. Because you have a gift, and everyone has somebody that they are tied to and that they're assigned to. And so when you get to the point where, you look at these people and you're like, I want to help these. Who are you called to? Who are you connected to? Who do you need to be ministering to? You need to look at that based off of those things that you've dealt with, based off those things that you have overcome yourself. So just, if you're struggling with that, if you're trying to find your purpose, I know, Areyell and I, we've gone to, we went to a church long time ago, where we went through a journey to purpose. We've gone through those, and we've gone through, ministers in training. We've gone through that. So,
and if I can speak to that,
go ahead, girl.
I want to shine on this woman. I want to say that what Lawana is saying is that you need to make your mess into a message.
Absolutely.
Because you never know that your message is speaking life and turning somebody around. Yeah. And I can speak for Lawana. That's what she did to me, going back to who you are as a person and your gifts. I remember I was in my early 20s. I still look like I'm in my 20s.
You still look good, girl.
Okay. But anyway, I was in my early 20s, and I remember I didn't know it at the time, but I had the ability to speak. And what I mean is by that is that I had the ability to make things make sense to people in a way that another person wouldn't. Because why? Going back to my seed, remember I said that when I was a child, growing up, I had cognitive issues. So with that, I began to use that thing to help mold how I would talk to somebody to help them receive information. So anyway, back to Lawana. We were at our church, and this lady had came in, and she was a secret shopper, and she had came to our church to see how we serve people, how we do things during the service, right? And so she had said said, stand up and talk to one another and see what you can do to make your church better, or something like that. And so little old me, I was like, well, I think da 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 da. And Lorana was like, you need to say that. I was like, I'm not saying that. And it was like 100 people in the room. And I was like, I waited till she kept saying, I said, say it. I said, say it. And I was just so scared. Again, that was those insecurities and those things that were plaguing my mind. So finally, I got the courage because she was pinching me so hard. And I was the last person to speak. She was. And I decided to stand up and I speak. And this is the beautiful part about this. Once I spoke, the lady who had been speaking well over maybe 45 minutes, who had already heard from at least 10 people, said something along the lines of, wow, when you spoke, people listened. You have something about you that when you speak, it allows people to gravitate to what you're saying. I'm saying all that to say is that I had to use the mess that I was in to be able to create my message, but I wouldn't have been able to do it if I didn't have someone pushing me and encouraging me and letting me see the true potential that I had inside of me. One of the things that Luana has always said to me, and I'm going left on this, is that we gotta hurry up. No battery, y'all. But one of the things that she said to me is that everybody's not going where you're going, okay? And with that, you have to be okay with the fact that everybody's not gonna understand your vision. Not everybody is not gonna understand your passion. But that's okay, because in the midst of that, you overcome those things that are hurting you and plaguing you. Absolutely.
So so this is definitely good stuff. So I'm just, it's just really, I'm just appreciative because a lot of times it even talks about in Titus how you are supposed to, as a young woman, teach the other women. So we talk about mentorship, we talk about, being advisors, we talk about helping other women kind of get out of their stuff. And so I'm definitely, that's just basically what I do. That's what we do, that we inspire other people, other women, we enlighten other people, we encourage. And that's just basically how we operate, because, when you're walking in purpose, you just know where you're supposed to be. You have to be connected to people. So some of those ways of overcoming those insecurities, what are some of those tips that you can do to overcome and to kind of get rid or kind of just overcome that and just really truly operate at your fullest potential?
Well, I'm going to try to be quick, y'all. So, little plug in, I'm writing a book, and it's called, should I tell you? I don't know.
Yes.
The Peculiar Plague of Insecurities. God was keeping me, and I didn't know it. So, in my book, I talk about how to overcome those things. And when I say this, I want to say that this is from my opinion. This is not something that you have to take, but I do believe that God gave it to me. So, because God gave it to me, I do believe that it will speak life into people. And I choose to believe that there's 3 things that you have to do to overcome insecurity. One of those things happens to be the simple fact that you have to be willing to gather your seed, number 1. You have to be willing to watch your seed die. And number 3, that you have to be willing to cultivate, allow God to you have to be willing to allow God to begin to cultivate your seed. And you may say, what does that have to do with anything? Well, I'm going to break it down in 2 ways, the spiritual way and then the common sense way that we will be able to understand. When you think about God, you think about his son. His son came here on earth, which was a seed. He came here in seed form. So that's the seed. Number 2, the next thing that happened is that God had to watch his seed die. He had to go on the cross. That's right? Good. So then after that, the next thing that happened, well, not the next thing, but another thing that happened is that God had to be willing to allow Jesus to be cultivated by him. And what do I mean by that? That he had to go through series times in his life where he was able to preach the word of God. He was healing people. And through that, he became a better person, right? So when you think about yourself and you think about your seed, I'm going to talk about myself. For example, my mom. If you actually, I'm going to talk about myself instead of my mom. With me, my seed was my insecurities. My seed was that very thing that made me feel less than, that I wasn't smart enough, that I was ugly. That's my seed. So I gathered my seeds, those things that pull me back from life. The next thing I had to do is I had to watch my seed die, meaning the fact that I had to look at the fact that sometimes when I look in the mirror, maybe I just don't want to look in the mirror, but I'm going to say to myself, God, I choose to give this back to you. In the midst of me giving it back to God, I'm allowing it to die. Once it dies, the next thing that I have to do is I have to be willing to allow God to cultivate my seed. What do I mean by that? Simple. One of the things that I said earlier is that if you want to kill the enemy, you use the very thing that he used to kill you to kill him.
That's
so
good.
two things that I did amongst many things is I wrote books and I wrote a book and I'm writing a book now about my story. What am I doing? I'm getting my story out there so people can hear my story so they can overcome. Another thing is that I formed my own foundation, 7 Pearls, and this is a way for me to give back. In the midst of me doing that, I'm cultivating my seed. And sometimes people say, oh, you're writing a book or you wrote a book. That is so amazing. But you don't understand the things that a person has to go through to write that book. It's not like all roses and things. You begin to see who you are in the inside, and it begins to almost resonate with you that, oh my gosh, I do have some issues, but I'm overcoming them. If I could go back over those things, and hopefully you're taking, I hope you're taking notes. One of the things that
they're taking notes.
I'll just believe that you're taking notes. One of the things you have to do, like I said, number 1, gather your seed. What is that thing that's pulling you away from purpose? Number 2, you have to be willing to watch that seed die, meaning that you give it back to God and say, God, I don't want this anymore. And number 3, you have to be willing to allow God to cultivate your seed, meaning you do the things that you have to do to become a better person, even in the midst of your mess that's going to become a message.
And then we also have to understand in all of that, it takes time. It takes time. So when you think about seed time and harvest, it takes time, y'all. So don't feel bad if you have insecurities and you're like, man, you know what? I can't overcome this. First of all, you in order to cultivate, you do have to get connected to people that are going to pull you up, y'all. Like, you have to get connected to people that are not going to pull you down, that's not going to judge you. They're not going to say, oh, you're just this. No, you need to get connected with people that are going to help you, that's going to pull you up, and that's going to hold you accountable. So a lot of times we always say, yep, I want accountability. But do we really want accountability? I have gone through or met people and even mentor people where they have said, you know what, LaJuana, I want you to hold me accountable, but when I really hold them accountable,
I didn't ask for
right, they're like, I didn't want all of that. Like, I didn't expect for you, because for those that know me, I don't sugarcoat a whole lot of things, only because I want the best for all of it. I want the best for me. I want the best for anybody, for Areyell. I want the best that for anybody that is connected to me. So I am always inspiring other people, because I truly want you to live to your fullest potential. Like, that's what I'm called to do. And so if I'm not the vessel, the information that I get, I have to pour it out. Like, if I'm reading something, I'm always thinking of, okay, dang, how can I get this to somebody? How can I get this to Facebook? How can I get this to, to somebody that I'm talking with or meet with consistently? Because that's just who we are. When you are really saying yes to your purpose and yes to what God has called you to do, you are literally a vessel. And so if we keep all this information, if Areyell keeps her story, if I keep my story, if we keep, the information, if you keep your story, you're going to burst at some point, because you have to get it out, and people are really wanting to hear your story, and people are really wanting to hear what you have to say. So you have a purpose, you all. There's a couple of people that mention so, when you say yes to your purpose, it doesn't always fit up front. Sometimes, it's not. So when you say yes, it's very uncomfortable. And so sometimes, how you have to fit into some clothes or fit into something, you have to get up in that thing, and then you have to operate in it, because it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be this awesome thing. Now, once you get in it, once you start operating in purpose, if you try to come out of it, it's going to be very difficult, but it's very rewarding, and it is joyful to operate in purpose. Someone talks about connecting to the right people. Absolutely. That's a huge thing. Definitely connecting to people, again, as I said before, that will help you overcome those obstacles and those insecurities. And people that's going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and be honest with you.
So how important is that? Even when you're ministering or when you're talking to other people, telling the truth, or even being able to receive feedback from other people. Is that important?
It's very important. I can speak to that because me and myself and two other friends, my friends and I, we wrote a book called The Inner Circle, One God, Three Friends. And during that time, we had to, we really did think we had a great relationship. I mean, we do have a great relationship, we do. But going back to me saying that sometimes you don't know until you go through something and you're writing a book and you begin to test your relationship. And I'm saying that in a good way because those two women have been able to show me who I am, the better me. But in the midst of that, they've always been honest. They've always been upfront about everything towards me, and I always felt safe with them. I never felt like, oh my gosh, are they going to judge me? And even if I did feel that, I knew that it wasn't going to go outside of our circle. Even with that, being their friends, they make me want to be a better person. And I think that when you meet people who make you want to be a better person, but you don't feel like you have to be in a competition with them, you're in a blessed place. Because if you feel like you got to be in competition with them, that's not the type of people you want speaking into your life. Or maybe you need to check yourself and check your motives and check your heart. And maybe that's your insecurities coming up. Yeah.
And then, so there was another question. So what's the biggest key to stepping into your purpose in spite of your insecurities? So if I can throw that out there. So sometimes you literally have to do things afraid. You have to step out as long as you know that you're working on your insecurities, because one of the things that you don't want to do is to cut other people with your issues. You don't want to hurt other people or minister to other people out of your own hurts and your own pains, because now what you're doing is you're destroying relationships and you're destroying other people because of your insecurities. If you are working on them, if you have acknowledged them and you are saying, you know what, this is a part of who I am. However, I'm working and getting better in this area, then this is something that you can operate out of in the process of working on them, while you are also somebody is holding you accountable, but you're also operating out of that. You're not operating out of hurt. You're not operating in pain. And now at the same time, this takes some maturity as well, because if you find yourself doing that, it takes a mature person to say, you know what, let me step back, let me get me together until I can minister to other people. So if you find yourself doing that, if you find yourself where you're not using your emotional intelligence and you are, just like snatching other people or having an attitude with other people, it takes a spiritually mature person to step back and say, let me get myself together for a second, and then let me walk in this next step. So we just have a few more minutes, you all, because again, we didn't want to be on here too long, and this has been really good. So we might have to come back and do session 2. So there's another young lady that says, how do you make sure when people are speaking into you, it seems like it's different than what God is revealing? Sometimes other voices distract you from where God is actually taking you. Absolutely. So this is the importance of having your relationship with God, because when people speak into you, more times than not, it's to confirm what God has already shown you and what God has already told you. So are there prophetic words? Absolutely. But they should confirm what God has already been speaking to you, because you have been spending time with God, and you have been spending time. I've seen so many people that run around that are, and now we get into a whole nother, we get to a whole nother, this is good. We get into a whole nother subject, but people have been going around and they're looking for words from other people, but you should be getting the word from God, and then it's confirmed. So that's a whole nother subject. That we may have to do that subject too.
Because I had something else to say, but I'm going to learn to pull back.
So you know what, y'all? This may be actually good. This may be something that we do consistently. So, but I did not want to be on here that long. And so if you still have questions, you know what? Come back and do a Q&A, just so we can get your questions answered in regards to insecurities, in regards to just anything. We may just do a Q&A one night and just talk, right?
Like,
Chit chat.
Hear what you have to say.
Absolutely,
and how you
absolutely.
overcame, because it's not just one way you overcome something. There are so many ways that you overcome insecurities.
Yeah. So that is going to be it for this evening. So I definitely want to say thank you all so much for just being here, and for just being a part of this discussion. We appreciate it. Areyell has her book coming out later on this year in regards to overcoming insecurities. So I'm sure if you follow her on social media, you will get that information, as well as myself. If you did not catch this from the very beginning, this will definitely be on my page, but it also will be on my YouTube channel, Lawana Michelle. So you can go on over to YouTube. Now I'm not going to upload it right now, but if you catch me in a couple of days, it's going to be uploaded, in addition to some other videos that I have, in addition to some other videos that I've done in the past. And if you follow me and subscribe to it, I will definitely post consistently, so you can catch it on there as well. Appreciate you all for just being here, for supporting myself, and for supporting Areyell. Do you have any last minute words?
No, just thank you for tuning in. And hope to see you next time.
Yeah, they will.
If I'm here.
No, you'll be here. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining, and we appreciate, again, if you have any questions or if you have anything that you would like to say, inbox me, and we'll get your questions answered. All right. Thank you all. Have a great evening.